Okay, I guess we can start. As other members join in, we can incorporate them as well. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. For this first workshop, our purpose is to get to understand more from the community, to see whether our vision aligns with your vision, to understand better like what we can improve towards writing the blueprint of decentralizing SNet, and get to learn each other better, and interact more, hopefully. So initially, as a starting point, we wanted to go through everyone and understand better your journey through SNet. Is why are you interested in this project, and how did you get started, and why are you invested in SingularityNET? So we can start from the way I see the order here. Teva, would you like to start and share your journey with SNet? Like, how did you notice the project? What got you interested? And why are you invested in this project?
Well, I got invested long time ago, around 2017. Back then it was more like AI and more like an AGI that have something competitor to the Googles and the big competitions, I would say. But actual like involvement came after I've been in Project Catalyst, it's like on Cardano ecosystem innovation funding, and like learning the concept of like decentralization and how do you achieve that, and trying to find ways there. And I don't know, at some point deep funding was launched, and then was like, ooh, cool. And as soon as I joined in, ambassador program was also launched, and these two initiations kind of got me hooked, and I am there where there is space to kind of try to decentralize and figure out how do you empower others with this kind of different way of working.
Thank you, Teva. Henrik, how was your journey towards SNet, and where do you find the value in the community?
Yeah, great. Great to be with you all. So my career as an electrical engineer began focusing on machine learning about, say, 10 to 15 years ago. And I invented some algorithms about how you incorporate risk into training machine learning algorithms. And then, my journey in the blockchain space began in 2017, and I eventually became part of the Cardano Catalyst effort, where I won some awards and served on their second circle. And then I learned about SingularityNET through their Fund 9, I think it was Fund 9. They had a category, and we won a small project. I met Matt Eichel, and he was really helpful and instrumental in helping us get integrated into SingularityNET. And then Fotrek won 2 awards in Deep Fund 1. We were the first team to launch a DApp from the deep learning teams. And in addition to our machine learning work, we're also now deeply involved in governance technology for both SingularityNET and Cardano. And so it's been fantastic. I completely love being part of the team. I have our sort of catchphrase for Fotrek is enlightened pathways, and we feel like SingularityNET is helping put us on the enlightened pathway.
Awesome. Thank you, Henrik. Sharon, would you like to share your journey through SNet?
Sure. I just joined, so I guess many of us are new. So yeah, the journey is only starting. Yeah, I see it as like in my imagination, like it's a gathering of the tribes. There is a cry out loud for everyone, like I imagine like AGI is coming with a solution. Now, everyone just get off bed, open the window, take a plant in your hands and march toward the gathering of the tribe and plant trees and by planting trees, you know, for example, it's, you know, it's like we can gain UBI and effect, you know. So this is like the small fires we kind of now light, inviting all kind of pioneers of transformation, all kind of AGI farmers, you know, to come to the gathering and plant their seeds of ideas. And from these seeds, you know, hopefully some trees will grow and we'll all enjoy the fruits. And yeah, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's a beautiful vision. Guillermo, how was your journey through SNET?
Hi, everyone. Good to see you back online. Hope you have a great starting of the year. How I get to this crazy family. I've been searching to optimize the resources for social sustainable strategies since 2017 through a social business following Mohammed Yunus' economic dynamics. So then late 2017, I joined forces with the blockchain technology to build smart contracts for microfinance and renewable energy in the point of consume user generator, and that organically took me to reinforce blockchain technology with adding the power and spice of AI. As Cardano was the organic blockchain for renewable energy optimization, as it is an energy efficient blockchain, and having this family mixed and joining forces, well, the path took me to SNET, and it has been a great experience, a lot of learning from a lot of people here in the meeting. Still learning and a lot to build and to do in the future, I hope.
Perfect. Thank you, Guillermo. Now, for time purposes, I would love to continue with everyone, but simply we don't have the time. So we can continue with the rest of the workshop. Like, as we can see, we have a pretty diverse background and a lot of interests which align in this project. So I wanted to get first to know a sense of what motivates everyone to follow this project and what do they see as value from this community. And I think this is definitely a good start. Now, as the second part, like we'll continue with a series of questions to get to know where the community stands and what is the alignment with our current goals. I will post the questions here on the chat since we are not that many people, and we can simply answer here, and whoever wants to go first, like they can expand on their answer as well, so we can understand the reasoning to which one would you prioritize based on these options. Now, of course, all of them are important, but which one would you rank higher than the other ones and why?
Should we also all post our answers into the chat, or you want to go around?
Yes, definitely. We can post the answers on the chat, and we can ask people like if they want to expand on the answer. I see that you put E here, Logan. Would you like to expand on that answer, and why do you think the priority should lay there?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that just it's very important. You know, it's kind of the point of crypto and blockchain is eliminating the single point of failures that have failed society a few times, especially in recent years. And I think that's kind of the promise of blockchain, is to, you know, decentralize decision making and make it so that the community is truly in control of the protocol or project. it definitely easier said than done.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. Juana, would you like to expand on your answer as well?
I think Logan touched on everything that I was going to say, but yeah, I think it's important if we want to build a resilient ecosystem to make sure that there's no single point in which it would fail, and then we build upwards from there.
Devo, I see that you put C here as an option. Would you like to explain?
On some ways, I feel like having a governance model that is systematic, inclusive, that already could eliminate the single point of failure. So, but it depends, what do you mean by governance model? Is it social governance in like how people enact, or a systemic governance, how the tools enact, or like a holistic governance where both tools, people and time and all of that is governed, and how it's kind of shared and educated to others. So it's, when I think of governance, I think of the highest degree of like all of that is included into that.
Right, makes sense. Yeah, it's a broad definition, and it can be open to many interpretations. Since we got most of the answers here, I think we can continue with the second question. Now, this is more on the challenges moving towards decentralized governance model in AI technology.
Perhaps a small note for the recording. Maybe it would be useful to read out the question.
Oh yeah, totally. Sure. So the question is like, what do you believe is the biggest challenge in moving towards a decentralized governance model in AI technology? And the answers here are like technical challenges in implementation, the resistance that we have from centralized entities that can be encompassing a lot of corporates or like other entities which get in the way, the ethical concerns and the regulations that one might have of using these technologies, the lack of awareness and or understanding among other users, or the participation level, and including here voter fatigue, let's say. Ubio, you chose C here. Would you like to explain your answer?
Yeah, so this is why I think it's C. C should be prioritized there, because as we move towards decentralized governance, there are going to be a lot of regulations with respect to the different places, different jurisdictions, and how that interplays. So that's why I think C is very important there.
Jared, I see that you put A here. Would you care to explain like why you made the choice? And Kenrick, you can continue afterwards. Jared, if you're with us, you can give us a sign. Or Kenrick, you can continue. If,
Yeah, and then Jared wants to jump in afterwards, that's fine.
Okay, sure. Kenrick, you can continue.
I put, well, I forget the letters now, but I put the lack of awareness, because what I've observed in working on decentralized governance is most people, even very smart people working in the blockchain space, don't understand the difference between participation and power. The fact that you're allowed to be a participant, the fact that the design is decentralized in participation does not mean that it's decentralized in power. And in fact, if you read the history of governance, every form of governance requires participation. Powerful people want participation because that's how they gain power. But they don't want to give up power. And that's a big part of what's going on in the decentralized space, is that people are being asked to come in to be participants. They're being sold on the idea that the governance is going to be decentralized, but the designs actually facilitate centralized control and power. It's happening everywhere. And it's hard. It's a hard problem.
Thank you, Kenrick. Now, Hogan, you put D here as an answer to the second, like, this is for the second question. Let me see here. I think I lost track of the messages.
Yes, second question.
Yeah. Teva, would you like to expand on that, on your choice?
I thought you asked Hogan.
Yeah. I think I see your answer here first, but I'm not sure if like I'm following that.
Yeah. Basically, what I wrote was like there are so many governance models, and it takes to me it has taken at least 2 years to understand one model, and now there is the social currency 3.0 and like scratching the surface, which is like amazing, but it takes time to learn it and then to actually facilitate and use it as like an extra layer. And once you get into that position, you actually need others also to understand it in a similar level to actually have like the full capacity in order to kind of make a system out of that or systemize it. And that's like moves to this answer E, where people are gonna have a fatigue, because how much decisions can you do? And then it's gonna turn into holocratic or meritocratic, but then these are other models again that has like things that like ups and downs. So yeah, I chose D because of that.
Fair, that's a fair choice. Slate, I see here that you put D as an answer. Would you like to explain why you made the choice? If not, Guillermo, would you like to take the chance to explain the choice that you made, like for B?
Yeah, I think we all the answers are on point, and at the end we're all assuming the same, the will of power. So if there's no will, there's no change. So you can so all ethical regulations end up on will. If you don't have the will to administrate and to regulate, so the resistance of the traditional centralized, it's and as Kenrick was saying, people in power are there. They are on point. They always have, and we can challenge and change implementations. You can bring more understanding for users and to explain different governance. But for that to happen, you need to have will of power, and I think we are missing a word here. That is time frame. We have a small time frame to bring results and to use this tool in the proper way. So yeah, the use of technology, it's always behind. So you have investment, and for investment, first you have to have will. So if there's no will to change, there's no investment. So
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think we can continue with the next question for time effect. Yes, Peter.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to stretch it longer than needed. I just wanted to put a small comment on D. I also chose D, but I do feel it's an issue that well, among our current users, there's some awareness, some understanding, maybe not perfect, but at least some. But the bigger issue, the non-users, like the people that are not into crypto, Web3, AI, they're just doing their stuff. And they're just as well part of humanity. So that to me is the biggest challenge, like how to get everyone involved, basically.
Any more inputs from anyone?
I see 3 stages. I mean, like I wouldn't choose any of one of those, because I think before awareness or interest, it's understanding. So like Peter just said, it's like we need to wake up more people toward the age of wisdom, toward the change, the transformation we want to see in the world, to rise above the divisions, all the current, words we see on mainstream media. And then I would say, yes, it's a cry out loud to join, like I said before, like I see us all wake up, and join this gathering of tribes. So yeah, I would like to see everyone joining this regenerative movement, the SingularityNET call to all of everyone. That's the thing. It's actually that even there are many organizations that believe in decentralization and open source, they don't really know how to collaborate because we were never educated on that. We were all educated on winners and losers, finite games. And then the final stage would be, yes, it's like I would say everything that we see here that is part of that transformation, how to get there. But yeah, I would say like yeah, like there are 3 stages here: mapping, exploring, and protecting. I believe we are at the mapping stage, and we need to grow the interest and the understanding, and people just make time and really put their attentions here, because nobody's attention, I mean, I would not say nobody. We are like the pioneers, yeah, the few that lead that change. Most people, they are in the personal challenges, local challenges, and be it global challenges. So it's anything you see on mainstream media, not AGI so much. And yeah, I do see us as we build up that network and learn how to collaborate and work together and share ideas, even show, I don't know, people like Elon Musk even and Ben Goetzel and all the, you know, the big world leaders, you know, how much even in the words they influence in the words. If Elon Musk tweets that he's going to fire half his company, it's just by saying that it can influence like the entire global economy. It's like, so and so just be it in action, like how much every little things and how responsible we have to be with how we navigate through these tides. Yeah, so.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you. I think we can move forward with the other question that we have. This is more related the focus of development efforts. Now, assuming that SNET can, let's say, prioritize certain projects more than the other ones here in AI agencies, in which area should SingularityNET focus its development efforts under a decentralized model? If we had to have a priority under these options, would you choose like healthcare and biomedical research, environmental or sustainability projects linked with AI, educational tools and platforms, financial and economic models, here including tokenomics as well, or protection against a non-benevolent and benevolent AI, like in this case could be an ASI, as we have mentioned, something which is beyond our current understanding as a super machine. So yeah, you guys can choose any of the options and expand on why.
May I interject something? I like also here I see all the answers are correct, because you see, maybe I'm interested in education, Shawnee, but Kenrick is is more interested in the architecture of it, and Peter in the financial side of it, and Judith in the security and privacy. So I definitely, it must be you know, everything is interconnected, you know, so simultaneously.
That's exactly what I was just writing as he was speaking. I don't think any one of these is higher priority than another one. It's I hope that what SingularityNET is doing is providing the infrastructure to support all of these initiatives. And then the community, individuals in the community will kind of work out, you know, which one actually proves to be sustainable investment, and you know, to build those capabilities.
Sure, definitely. Kenrick, I'm interested from your perspective as someone who has been involved in machine learning. Do you see like a tight, or let's say a more extended timeline on the path towards AGI and then ASI? Do you see something which is like of higher priority right now, or we can, let's say, focus on the other options that we mentioned while we are focusing on this, but without higher priority necessarily?
Well, I can relate it in the following way. I've been trying to learn more about SingularityNet's initiatives in AGI, and I see kind of three infrastructural. Well, there's a lot of different infrastructural things, but like what I'm currently focused on is trying to understand how neural networks relate to knowledge graphs, relate to probabilistic reasoning. And to me, a challenging question, like Ben Kurtz's work, and a lot of the work within SingularityNet is focused on symbolic processing. And it's still, I think, an open question how that integrates with all the significant progress in deep learning. You know, deep learning is kind of what made the space explode over the last 10 years. At the same time, it's recognized that there are limitations to what deep learning can do. So that, to me, that's part of what I'm trying to work on now, is understanding those kind of priorities better.
Thank you, Kenrick. I see here, Eric, you put A and C. Would you like to expand on your choices?
A, sort of what Thibaut mentioned above, seems to be a lot of enthusiasm for that application of AI. And it's also, with a more cynical perspective, something that will get a large number of people sort of interested from selfish motivations, you could say, where C would be in a way the same, but perhaps not as selfish motivations, but to sort of raise the playing field for most, biggest number of people.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you, Eric. Now the next question that we have focuses more on the community engagement, Paul. How should we engage better with the community? How we should get your voice across better to our team? And basically, how should SingularityNet best engage its community in the decentralization process towards writing the blueprint? Which would you prioritize and you think is more effective out of all of this? Regular community meetings and AMAs, community-led projects and proposals, incentivized participation through token rewards, or incentivized participation through reputation or NFTs and certificates, or educational workshops and resources that we can have similar to this one. Even though we pretty much cover all of these areas, we would like to know which one you think is more effective out of them. Juana, you put D and E. Why do you think like that would be, let's say, more a better approach, and should we prioritize that instead?
Sure, I think when it comes to like building reputation and being able to capture your expertise in a system, I think that's very incentivizing, and through that, I think it would lead to a lot of, collaboration and community-led proposals, and then that in tandem with more educational workshops and resources, I think makes a very good starting point for decentralized projects and community-led initiatives. But I think the promise of Web3 is being able to, have a digital twin of yourself that can lead certain initiatives in different expertise, and being able to capture all of your contributions and being able to have a model that incentivizes that, I think it would be very beneficial.
Rojo, what's your take on this? Why did you choose E?
Yeah, the main reason why I chose E is I look at the way how OpenAI gained attention with its ChatGPT, and when I see that, and I see that they didn't spend, as far as I recall, they didn't spend a dime on marketing, and they just build a product, they put it for people to use it, and then they educated them about the product, what they can do with it. and then it was left for the people to recommend it to others, and then to educate themselves and educate others, and then you get that chain of, you know, of effects, and that's how it goes viral, basically. So I really think we should focus a lot about building cool things and educating people about what we're building. And you start with the very technical, the very involved people, very few, and then those tell like their families and friends, and that's how it goes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a perspective that I share as well, to be honest. Tevo, would you like to expand on your point?
Well, Roho covered the E part, but I chose D first because I kind of feel like it cool that T could come first before E, in a sense that if there is like, hey, we're gonna have something in here, and we're gonna have projects, you're gonna show your skills, you're gonna have like ways to empower you, and through this activity, usually there are going to be workshops and then resources allocated to kind of enhance and scale that. So that's my kind of why I chose D over E.
Okay, I think we can move on to the last question that we have. So this is more regarding the challenges and what, let's say, hinders the progress of decentralization that we have for the SingularityNET, in this case, for AI. So what do you think poses a greater risk to the success of decentralization of AI in general, in this case? Technological limitations, regulations, market competitions, or ethical dilemmas? We think it's very important to understand like how we can better decentralize, especially as we move towards AGI and ASI, so we can better represent and distribute the power instead of having, let's say, just a few labs in California controlling pretty much all the power and all the knowledge and going ahead, and they can be compoundly increased. We want to know like what do you think is the main issue here and what we can do to mitigate it as well. Marta, would you like to expand on your point for C?
I'm just wondering, you know, like what's the mechanism why people don't want to share and let other people into their discussions or decisions. And I think basically the reason for that is the reason of the risk to decentralization. And isn't it usually the, you know, let's keep it to ourselves. So so just simple, you know, as that, because the regulatory, I'm not so sure, you know, the regulatory hurdles are actually probably, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It probably a risk to as others, but this one is obvious to me. The competition thing.
That's a very interesting take. Thank you. Do you have a very Judith? You have a very interesting take as well. What do you mean with D will inevitably lead to B in this case?
Well, ethical dilemmas. I mean, there's going to be an outcry because of every other thing that's going to be done in decentralization. I mean, people are already angry. You just have to look on social media. People are angry about anything AI related. And so there's going to be riots regarding this. And then there's going to be regulation because I don't know, like it's going to be mayhem. But yeah, definitely, I mean, people are very unhappy, mainly because of lack of understanding what it can do. It just all seems scary. And when there's uncertainty, every time in any field, whether that's in finances and politics and health, when there's uncertainty and people are fearful, then yeah, it's a massive hurdle to any success or any progress in anything.
Guillermo, you chose B. Would you like to expand on your choice?
Yeah, so I'm gonna short personal. I have a bond with a politician in my country. He's in the Green Party, reference to what is Germany, Green Party. We were discussing hours ago with the first coffee in the morning about what is happening in Germany. His argument was society is difficult with climate policies, integrating them because of, and he has his arguments. I personally believe that when you have people eating from the trash, there's no climate action possible or recycling. So you need to always attack the problem on the first knot of the chaos dilemma, knowing that chaos is beautiful, and that comes with regulations. And I personally have a strong belief that we enthusiasts on decentralized need to find boundaries to our purpose. You know, we need to have, there's a say that is that a coach told me years ago when I was having problem with addictions, is that when you have a north, when you know where you're going, every wind, all different kind of winds are good because they're taking you there. It doesn't matter if you first go west then east. When you have a clear point to reach, all winds are good. So when you narrow possibilities and you it's like the rules of engagement. People here listen to me talk about this. You limitate damage. You strengthen the use of resources, time, human resources. So you need to build a small path towards your objective. And I think, I don't know if the word is regulations, but laws have helped us to, in the modern society, to evolve as a community with all the problems we have, okay? With all the unbalanced situation we have through society. But still, to have a social sustainable development, you need laws of engagement, and that will come with regulations, and that will take up fear, that will bring education, that will because Rojo was right, when you build something good, that it markets itself. So for that you need regulations. They're at least a starting point to make things fair for all, and that's where you should fight for this to become what we are trying, you know, a benevolent NGI. We need to regulate it in the right way. So that's my take on it.
Now, Kenrick, I see that you chose D here. To what extent do you agree with what Guillermo mentioned, and how would you argue in favor of D in this case as a priority?
Yeah, well, all of these are certainly, valid answers. And particularly, we know that the regulatory hurdles are gigantic. Some for good reasons, but also for bad reasons. The way I see it is that decentralized communities have to prove that they are regulating themselves. And to the extent that they can show that they actually have quite serious, quite strong regulatory frameworks, then maybe those communities can be trusted. The problem is that a lot of communities, even the ones we're working with and feel are doing good work, are claiming to be decentralized, even though they're not really decentralized. And then in those cases, democratic societies, absolutely have a right to impose regulation to make sure that their citizens are protected. So that's, and so this is what makes it very challenging. And I guess what I wrote an answer before I even chose one, and then went back and said, well, I guess my answer is most like the ethical dilemmas, because in the end, it comes down to, the long-standing ethical challenges that we have in building honest collaboration between large groups of people. It's a very old problem, right? We have some new technology that can help, but it's an old problem. And I see Logan asked a question for me. What does truly decentralized mean? Okay. Now I'm going to get a little technical, I guess, but great question. I think you really have to measure the power in the system. Who has the power? How is it being used? And how is that shaping decisions within the community? And so, you know, I've become, through my research, an advocate of quadratic voting. That's one way that you can try to distribute power in decision making. But there's a lot of other things that go into it. For instance, Stephen Wittenstall forwarded to me the work of Eleanor Ostrom, who developed a concept called polycentric governance. And there's a book out called Pro-Social that John just read last month, and then he's so fast at things. He actually has a terrific blog post kind of relating these concepts of pro-social decentralization to how we're progressing as a community. So I would recommend, a great answer to Logan's question is actually what John Haldings just wrote this month on his SingularityNET blog post.
Daniel, you have your hand raised.
Yeah. For me, there is a really important nuance around decentralization, and is taking it as a marketing word, but not really as a design principle, in the sense that decentralization is the opposite to centralization, is decentralization. So in that sense, it's kind of like a teenage movement. It's a rebellious movement against abuses of power, command, all the dysfunctions of command and control, top-down hierarchies that are very out of touch, which was happening in the borders. The results of trying to reduce everything to a single metric of profitability or share price, and all the negative externalities that creates because of all of those consequences. So essentially externalizing a lot of negative impacts to communities and the environment, as opposed to incorporating that into organizations and so on. So there is many reasons to attack the traditional model. It has like tremendous flaws. It also has some benefits that have built a lot of society and enable us to get up to this point. But like building on what Kendra was saying of Ostrom work, is the idea of polycentrism or multicentrism, where you can have multiple centers of power that together regulate each other and create better governance structures. So it's to say we can take it like aspirationally as a direction, but the idea is not decentralization for decentralization's sake. There is a really fantastic take when it comes very specifically the application to governance, which is the idea of anti-capture or capture resistance. That is, how can we create organizations that are resistant to a small group of people or a single stakeholder capturing them and exploiting the organization for their benefits, as opposed to the organization serving everyone else who's involved. So if we can create mechanisms for multi-stakeholder, and I mean like employees, users, investors, or capital providers otherwise, and for each of these groups to benefit, to be able to have their voice heard, and to be able to find win-win solutions, as opposed to find adversarial solutions that then lead to all the dysfunctions of corporate governance, then we're way better off. And we can still keep on using decentralization, so we don't have to go into the whole theoretical debate every time. But so it's not just about dispersing power for dispersing power, it's about finding this balance and ways to encourage win-win solutions between stakeholders that quite often can be better achieved through a multi-stakeholder, multi-centric organization design, rather than simply dispersing everything to the smallest unit.
Logan, would you like to give it a try and see if the mic works and we can hear you?
Yeah, I guess, maybe kind of an unpopular opinion. But, I think blockchain has two superpowers. One is decentralization, pushing power to the edges. And I think that's very valuable for a lot of use cases. But I think, especially at the beginning stages of projects and when the project is trying to discover, how it will iterate, where it's going, centralization is powerful because there's people that deeply care about it, understand the system. And, I think with transparency, the reason that is so important is because anyone can audit what's going on and see how decisions are being made. But if you do truly decentralize, what I see, what I've experienced is that a lot of people that aren't educated are going to, be able to voice their opinion when they don't necessarily know what's best for the protocol or the movement moving forward. So, it's like the thing you want is a benevolent, group of people to get the project off the ground and then decentralize over time. And I think if that's all done in a transparent process, I think that's an okay way to go about things. But yeah, that's just kind of what I've learned from being in the space and building out governance tools and being part of DAOs and everything over the last few years.
Yes, Ro?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a case why I think A is probably one of the main, meaning, technological limitations is one of the main hurdles, let's say, stopping the success of decentralized AI. The reason for that, I think I went through like a process of elimination, and then I looked at B, which is regulatory hurdles. And then when I looked at that, I mean, I can, on top of my head, think of a couple of examples where that didn't stop projects from evolving. And the most famous example for that is Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin was still illegal actually in many countries, right? It still didn't stop its adoption, and people are using it, trusting it more and more. Even you have like presidents talking about it now and all these kind of things. I look at market competition, and then that's also doesn't stop it. And a good example for that is Linux. I mean, Linux was competing against Windows. We tend to forget that, but Windows was a whale. Nobody could compete with Microsoft and its Windows, right? But then, Linux came in and did it and started with a few people, and then like it just went like fire in the forest. Ethical dilemmas, I recognize that as a very important, kind of hurdle, but I also recognize that we always have ethical dilemmas and ethical questions about things, and it never stops. I mean, we're still talking about how open source should be treated and whether developers should be held accountable for the code that they develop open source, right? Like these are still talked about questions. And so I don't see that as something like probably having the priority, but more of like a continuous thing that always will happen, talking about the how ethical something is. So yeah, that leaves me with technological limitations.
Then I guess we can shift to the next part of the workshop, where we can separate into 2 breakout rooms, and we have 2 topics to which we can tackle together as teams, brainstorm ideas, and discuss how we can better solve like these issues that we have. Yeah, so for the breakout rooms, I mean, since we already had a few limited questions, right, which limited you to a few options, the 2 tasks now are open for brainstorming. One of them is tackling the issue of how we can have a more active engagement of a more have a more representative community in that case, since we are the community of developing towards the path of AGI and ASI. We want this intelligence in the future to have a more representative voice out of different communities. So how can we tackle that problem to include as many different different ethnicities, personalities, countries in SNet, and how we can get them more engaged for our process. And the next one is regarding the blueprint. Now, as all of as the Supervisory Council has been chosen to write a blueprint which will represent, let's say, a map towards a fair and ethical decentralization. We need active input of the community, right, to the key pillars of a truly decentralized governance. We will need to outline a draft, perhaps to a decentralized blueprint, thinking of the main areas of decentralization which we started in our conversations before.
Are people clear on what the rooms are about? And do you want to give people the choice of which topic they want to discuss, or just put people in a topic regardless of what because they're 2 separate discussions, or is it going to be first one topic and then I just want to make sure everybody knows what they're going to be discussing.
Yeah, definitely. So what we will discussing is what I shared regarding like those two options. And the reason why we are doing it randomized instead of like having
Wait,
each
Johnny, I want people in the room to say they understood you. I don't want you to repeat it. It's like, do people understand what Johnny is asking? And if not,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
that's what yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I wasn't
definitely.
clear. I wasn't clear.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, if you guys are not clear, please like point it out and you can speak up.
I don't understand if each breakout room is dealing with two questions or each one is dealing with.
It's one, and then we will represent like the answers for each of them through the breakout rooms. Now, the reason why I let it be like randomized instead of having people choose is because like what if more people choose to join one instead of the other, and then we don't have, let's say, fair representation for both questions. So yeah. Now, Peter, are you assigning like all these members to the different rooms, or would you like me to do it?
I did set it up as self-assigned, so people can click the three dots and then select one of the two breakout rooms. But if preferred, I can also just chuck everybody in one of the rooms.
Oh, okay then. Okay, sure.
So yeah, I would say people could choose what they're more interested in, perhaps.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. True. That's an option as well. You can do that.
So yeah, this is the moment to select one of the breakout rooms and go to that breakout room.
So the idea is the following, right? As we are moving towards writing the blueprint, and the Supervisory Council members have been chosen to actively represent the voice and what they think is best for the community. What would be like a fair representation or like an outline that each of you would think would make sense, starting from, let's say, the main topics that we need to really focus on, what we need to take care on, and then we can go narrower as we move along. So yeah, I think we can start like from a small outline. Like we can discuss about it. We can write like any way that works best for you. Sorry, Tavo, you can continue.
Just opening up my researcher, finding the right chapter. I haven't done like a framework or anything, but there are some good insights from some of the sessions I have been having around decentralized project management. And one like important things on community collaboration are like 4 things that we kind of like listed was one is like project management itself, then is the treasury management, knowledge management, and then governance. And these 4 topics have to be explained separately. And if one of them is missing, it's already feels like missing like one leg of a stool in a way. So if you ask like what should be in there, these are like the main categories, and yeah, then we can go more detail in any of these or give a high level of that.
Yeah, sure. We can do that later. Guillermo, like you have for now like any outline that you have in mind or like some things that we need to focus or prioritize more while we are mapping the blueprint?
I think all the bullet points on all the questions on the survey you guys made on the main room were on point. All of them are subjects we need to address. And the other room's theme, so diversifying the representation, it's part of the blueprint, should be a relevant part of the blueprint. But at the same time, I believe that this representation needs knowledge. You can't just so the problem or the great thing of a theory of chaos that is in everything is that people are choosing and voting without knowledge, without knowing what they are choosing. So education is a main part. So I will. This is a stupid suggestion because it's prioritizing is the main way to build. So you prioritize foundations to then build on top. So you can't build a house without a strong foundation. So education would be the main subject. And what would I prioritize? And on that, I would probably complement with what Tivo was mentioning. All these areas are important, but the main is transparency and traceability, and that's something we have on the tool. So being able to show what we are building, how we are moving forward, what we do right, what we do wrong. So having strong KPIs is first step, but then you're gonna fail. That you're gonna fail. We all fail to evolve. So having that displayed to people understand, and that way we educate ourselves from failure. You know, it's how we came out from the caves, and we learn how to build a fire without burning the whole forest. So education will be a main part of I would strongly recommend to make education a bold statement for the blueprint. I always use this metaphor. I don't know if Johnny, you have been around in one of the calls. I use this metaphor of a jazz ensemble. You can, and I wrote this in a couple of times. You have Beaches Brew, Miles Davis, Gracie music, live music. Okay, all these great musicians playing live in one scenario. It sounds pretty fucking chaotic. I'm sorry for my French, but there's a thin line putting it all together. And that's we resume it. A lot of us resume it to one word, that is purpose. And that's again rules of engagement and A, B, C, D, and E, and then you play on it. But I think this blueprint have a strong seed that is the SNET purpose, that is benevolent AGI, and is decentralized. And on top of that, you need to be creative, but you have two strong, solid foundations for what we're doing. We are not, profit is not one of those. Profit is on top of them. Resources, exponentiality of incoming, all those things build on top of benevolent, open, decentralized AGI. So if we keep those strong and honest, then the other thing will come together organically. As Rojo was mentioning, we have a product that it's a strong foundation and mission and vision behind it, that it's resuming this one word, that is purpose. People will come and things will happen in that direction. With all the failures we need to transcend and to go through to make it, better and optimize. And I'm sorry for going too long on it.
No, that's fair. I love your jazz reference, by the way. I love jazz. Peter, you have been an insider like for some time now, and you see both angles. Personally, what do you think would be a fair, representative way towards writing the blueprint in a more efficient way than whatever method has been before?
Well, basically, to me, it's all about outlining like basically the end goal would be that the foundation is decentralized, right? So from my perspective, it's all about simply figuring out which parts can go first. Like, well, for example, deep funding and the ambassador program and the loyalty rewards are being mentioned also in documentation already as like low-hanging fruits. Loyalty rewards, they're being a bit of a weird one in a way because it's simply tokens getting distributed. That's, yeah, there's not like, I don't know, with deep funding, there's a whole community side of it, and with ambassador program as well. With these loyalty rewards, yeah, there are some tokens going to the community, but that's about it. Yeah, I would say, for example, marketing or partnerships or a dedicated, for example, OpenCog team, which has a strong open source focus. Yeah, and then like over time moving to maybe what other teams are there that are relatively easy to decentralize? Maybe, well, there's some support ongoing, but it's already quite yeah, maybe, I don't know, over time you get more to like the HR and the finance eventually. I imagine that would be relatively late in the process, just because of all the critical dependencies on it. I'm not an expert on that topic, but that's just what I imagine. So yeah, I would see that's basically how I perceive the whole blueprint, like over time explaining which portions become decentralized and become in control of community members rather than contractors or foundation members.
Totally. Thank you. Tevo, I see that you outlined here a few questions. Would you like to expand on that?
I don't know, not really. Like these are good questions that came up when you, like, that's an addition. It's kind of hard to put into the whole discussion where this came up was like talking about culture in communities and how does communities grow, and we know that at least and in the context of Cardano community, we clearly outlined that it started also from establishing standards and the Cardano improvement proposal process. So a way for community to propose changes to the standard. So maybe that's also should be included in blueprint. Like, how do you change the blueprint, like the guidelines? And once this gets established, people are going to propose stuff. They're gonna build on the tools on the network. They're gonna do stuff. And at some point, they're like the culture and the community has to like increase the capacity in post price appreciation because tokenomics, and also the skill set and expertise is going to expand beyond what blueprint is kind of making knowledgeable. So they have to always be like updatable. And yeah, through these like kind of there's many stages of the growth yet to cover. But yeah, these were like kind of the questions that were not addressed in the meeting, but like additional things we should have talked about, and what should be written if we were going to build the standard. From like how to be included, like that's like a clear thing when somebody is reading a blueprint and if there are like very many different people how to get engaged, but there are like system thinkers who maybe start from the blueprint. Like, I don't engage with the community if they don't have a white paper or something that people agree to, and this is that then that standard should have a way to at least one sentence or something showing this meeting, or look at this form, apply here, and somehow to kind of make yourself aware of. Then how to do things is like, yeah, there is also some communities have like a strong sense of like governance model they use, and then it's going to be like share, hey, go through this educational course or learn these principles before you are going to engage, and this may needed to be included. But most often they are rather chaotic, like Guillermo mentioned. And then even having a sentence like, and like, don't be afraid of being in the chaos, or like, and embrace the chaos in a sense. That understand that there are people who are gonna vote randomly, and you need to accept that, and don't get emotional about it. How are people recognized? And this is something where I very strongly now for years been kind of advocating and building tools around to kind of lift people up, and because sometimes people themselves don't know what skills they have, and having that opportunity, hey, we are recognizing these skill sets in these kinds of environment, and there is this ambassador program, and now deep funding is also building reputation slightly. So that's like showing the way where this recognition happens and what is recognized, and should be somewhat like mentioned, I guess. And where do you go to collaborate? Yeah, kind of went with the recognized value, how to share community values. That's a good question. How do you share community values?
Yeah, definitely something to think about. Personally, what we have had so far on a very high level as an issue is, first, whenever we come up with the right framework, let's say, or an outline, then we can have, let's say, specific members from within or outside the team who will want to push us in a different direction. And then they will be focusing on different parts or different aspects. And then we have a different focus, let's say, from the community. Now, just to wrap this up, what do you think would be a good conflict resolution and proper alignment when we are in the middle, let's say, of two fires, like in this case? Guillermo, like personally, what's your take?
Conflict resolution. So you brought a tough one. So, well, I have a personal experience, my first personal experience of conflict in the decentralized community a month ago, and I stepped down. And if there's no conflict, there's no need of conflict resolution. And for that, I'm not bringing that I'm old and that I'm mature and that I learned when to step down, because that is not enough, you know. But if you keep the one thing that needs to stand on the table is the objective, and then all of us are replaceable. So and it shouldn't be a conflict to be replaceable. I think that once you have a clear vision and mission, and you build priorities on top of that, then you get community involved to decide what's the order for those priorities. You can build what it's called in research and development, what is called a roadmap. Okay, if you take that into narrative of what is literature, or say another creative metaphor, what is music or a book, you have introduction, you have development, and you have conclusion. And conclusion will be results, and then you can analyze what's the result, and if there have been conflict on top of that, you know, to get to the result, how much conflict you have, where was the conflict? So I believe that if there are conflict of interest, it's because the purpose and the vision are not clear. You get what I mean? Because if you have a strong case, it shouldn't be a freaking conflict. Then decision of what and how you get there is something else, but it shouldn't be a conflict. It will be a lot of ideas on the table, and you know, then it's the whole thing about the decentralized decision making. Well, the whole decide. How we decide? With a governance tool, consensus voting. That if one is going to stand on the table. So if it's the decision of the whole, there shouldn't be a conflict.
Sure, definitely.
I would like to hear from the rest of the room if there are any comments about participation and ensuring this two-way feedback process, the capacity of everybody to participate beyond the few committed people in SingularityNET. May I say something? I'm sorry I was late also, but maybe I will introduce myself because I joined the call later. My name is Marta Lenartowicz. I'm from the beginning of January now appointed by NUNET to lead the process of decentralization at NUNET. So that's my that's my newest formal interest. But yeah, but I'm in general interested more, you know, on a scientific ground and social scientific ground in those processes. So I very much like what you, Grace, are saying about, you know, like who are we speaking about when we are speaking about engagement? Yes, and it's I must admit I have a problem with this word community, how it's being used in Web3 environment, you know, and it's like it's really it's really weird because it seems to me it's kind of like a language game. Okay, we are just like using new words for old ways of thinking, and by community we mean shareholders, yes, and okay, you know, and so I'm kind of like starting to play around. Okay, can we like redescribe what we are doing and re-understand? And what you are saying, you know, like there is actual stakeholders at each particular issue, yes, and just simply saying, okay, it's open for everybody, and just come and join, and it's for everybody. You know, it's actually not attracting everybody relevant, yes, because obviously this is a cultural phenomenon that we are in. Some people get the language, some people get the tools, you know, some people like feel that they actually can click and join the call, and some people feel I think it's not about them, and definitely this a beautiful example that you give of those teenagers playing games. There's no way they will like click, you know, and join our Zoom call, even though, like, you know, nominatively by the description of what is being what we probably mean by saying that this is for stakeholders, it's completely okay, you know. So, and also people, you know, like as like how we operate, we don't join things at random, and we don't join things that kind of like don't belong to our cultural tribe, yes, in how we identify ourselves, and or like are really about our vital interest. So what I'm thinking is that for this diversification, you know, like to take the term, to happen and to become really, you know, about who needs to be in a room to have all the necessary diverse voices present, that we need to have quite simple principles that are at play all the time. Because another problem I have, and it's quite big one, is with this kind of like a double talk. Okay, decentralization is a good idea, but the other one works, you know. So let's keep doing the other one, and let's doing the other one and talking about the nice one. So which also kind of like feels almost like a waste of time, and you know, I used to live when I was a kid in still totalitarian times in Poland. So I'm kind of, you know, like and then I was studying social science, and this double talk, you know, like do one thing, talk another one, is kind of like I have a flag for that, you know, quite a detector. So I believe we really need to be, in terms of decentralization, if we have principles that are not applicable here and now, this means we have wrong principles simply, and we need to identify and formulate simpler principles that will actually help us work where we are now at this current stage, today, tomorrow, and not on some, you know, like bright horizon. Which to come back to this question, you know, like there needs to be somebody inviting people, you know, they will not just come, and inviting them for their own, like really responding to their own interest. because otherwise they feel they are just doing a service of kind of like polling or focus grouping for not their own process, you know. So this kind of like crispiness of principles, when you deal with an issue, identify who, but really think broad, you know, who we are talking about, whose fate we are deciding in this decision, and then reach out. It's your responsible to bring such person, you know, and bring them, you know, and make it relevant. That would be like, it doesn't really have to be, maybe it sounds very busy, but doesn't have to be, can be quite simple, you know. Sometimes it can be just, you know, like even a way of thinking, kind of like a mental model. You have an issue, map it this way. What do these people in your mind say, you know, before you take a next step in kind of procedure. So that's kind of like my initial thinking about this, you know, like spreading around. It needs to be fractal-like in terms of like simple principle of inviting that cascades into broader and broader networks.
Thank you, Marta. I found that really interesting, especially the idea of going into the specific communities and adapting our communication for specific communities, which is extremely important, but also very challenging to kind of drill down into who those are. Do you have any thoughts on how one would reach out and how one would really understand who to reach out to?
So it has to be real, you know. So it cannot, like, we cannot speak about it in abstractions. Like when you have a particular decision, you know who the people you don't want to hear it are, and this is the people, you know. This is those people. That it's kind of like, you know, like better to have the conversation when they are not present, because it becomes easier. This is this other, you know, and probably when you are in a specific situation, just, you know, like give it 3 minutes and you will know who those people are. But in abstraction, it's like, you know, like it's very, like, we can keep drawing models and have different habits. Yes. So I think, like, in terms of principles, it's more like organizational principle. Okay, you know, before we move on, let's take this bit, which is called our decentralization, you know, like bit today. How do we do, you know, how kind of like mental models, or maybe cultural, you know, like all those working methodologies are cultures, yes, that we have now this, now this, now this. So kind of like to have those bits of activity in calls, in planning, in workflows. And then, you know, like then of course it does reach the moment of automation, like DAO and so on and so on. But first we need to, like, I think, identify moments which are applicable today, you know, and useful today for working together, and just simply start today, you know.
Thank you, Marta. I would love to address that, but I think that we need to return now. I don't think the breakout room closes on its own. So let's all return to the main room. Thank you, everybody.
So far, Tevo and Guillermo, like, what's your feedback on this session? What do you think can be improved? What we can do better for next session, so we can extract more value for the time being?
I think questions were fun at the beginning. I think that was great. Maybe for the breakout rooms, maybe there could have been a slide or something. I was kind of lost even if we went to breakout rooms, but once you kicked it off again and asked questions, then it was okay. But I like the questioning stuff. I will probably think of something.
Yep, makes sense. Any additional feedback on the session? What you guys liked and what you didn't like, and what we can improve for the next session?
It might be useful if we reach out to the people also who were here the first hour, because I feel like people did leave, and so hopefully we'll have a list of the RSVPs. I think I have that list, because anybody who RSVP'd had to put an email in. Maybe we can send a survey afterwards and you know, get feedback, because this is kind of putting people on the spot in front of everybody else. Like, you know, maybe if people had critique, maybe we should send them away to do that anonymously.
No, why, Grace? No, we shouldn't fear critic. I think we can use some digital tools for voting. Not only put the A, B, or D, what we did on the chat. That way we get a register that can be online for everybody to look. There's some digital tools for to having this survey, and to at the end we can build and have a reasonable, transparent result. Some of the voices.
But technically, we can already get that by downloading the chat and then aggregating the results.
Yeah, we can do that, but some of people probably didn't engage, and we use it a year ago with some resolutions from the governance goals, and there's some cool tools we can use.
I can share it in the challenge, so it can reach out to more people as part of the one of the tasks to fill out the poll. So just share a link to the poll, these 3 questions, and yeah.
Yeah, that's a smart idea, like putting that poll out on the Discord channel and just having people participate. That'll get more, like it'll be more representative anyway.
Yeah, also a Google form. I mean, I don't know yet, because going back, Grace, to the audience I'm building, not all of them know even what Discord is. So maybe a Google form, if it's okay with you, would be.
Who is this audience? Like, are they connected to SNet? Like, what is the connection between what we're doing and this audience you're creating? Because this community is on Telegram and Discord, so it'll be a little bit like, I don't really understand. Yeah.
No, so some of them are on Telegram and Discord, but some are not. Some are on WhatsApp, and yeah. So it's not just
again, what is the connection between the community you're talking about on WhatsApp and SingularityNet? That's my question.
Oh, so this is the community I build on BGI challenge groups. So it's another project initiative by the SingularityNet, by Singularity. So yeah, not aimed at developers.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to understand what it was so that we would know. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just shared some links also to the Telegram and WhatsApp groups. You can join and experience and see how it works. Every week, twice a week, Monday, Thursday, I share some tasks. In one of the topics relates to BGI. So this poll could be a task, and we get more diverse group of people filling out. Yeah. So just you have my contact, right, Shawnee? So you could send it to me.
Totally. Thank you, Sharon.
Sorry to jump in. I didn't want to just throw a message on the chat. I'm 5 minutes late to my next call. So Grace, Martha, Peter, Johnny, Sharon, Judith, and my friend Thibaut, Esther, always good to see you. So see you in the next one around this afternoon. Ubio, see you later.
Thank you, Guillermo. Thank you. Hey guys, any more feedback? Anything else that you would like to point out before they wrap this up?
Maybe Grace, you have more questions maybe about. Okay. If anyone here doesn't know the BGI challenge and you want to ask them, feel free to reach out. Yeah.
Is this a weekly thing or monthly or bi-weekly?
No, it's a lifelong learning.
I mean, this concept.
You mean this call?
Yes.
You're talking about this call, not about Sharon's call.
Yeah.
Yeah. This call we're going to be having at least these next 3 weeks, every week at this time. Although it's been suggested that we might try and move the time around like every other week or something. We haven't decided on that. But yes, this will be happening next week and the following week. And it's part of our journey as the Supervisory Council to get your input on the outline for the blueprint that we've been working on. We've already started working on something and we'll probably be asking for your feedback on it. But before we show you something, we want to like get some raw material so that we're not just like our ideas being imposed on you, because as soon as somebody puts out an idea, then it kind of limits the conversation. So this is our way of getting feedback from the community before we publish a straw man. I'm going to call it a straw man outline. So we're having 2 more of these at the same time in the next 2 weeks. And the next week will be led by Daniel, and the third one will be led by me.
Perfect. But I think we can end this here then. Thank you everyone for all your input. We definitely have a better idea now what we can improve on, what we can work on, and also how we can improve the workshop structure as well, so we can save everyone time and be more efficient.
Yeah, and showing maybe when you make the poll and people just mark, then make multiple choices, also possible.
Definitely. That's what we had in mind initially. We had some technical misalignment somewhere in there, but that's why we continued with the copy pasting format. But yeah, we will improve that next time.
Yeah, so yeah, amazing to meet you all, and see you next time.
Thank you everyone. It's a pleasure. Bye.